at sort of the culture inside the Trump campaign, which translates to what they say and how they act publicly. And as you know, covering politics, the tone is often set from the top. And so that's with former President Trump. And what we found was sort of a striking and deliberate machismo and bro culture that, you know, goes from the language the aides use to describe people. Our lead scene is they're talking about how to handle stories they don't like from reporters, and a top guy on the campaign says, well, we'll just beat them into retardation, which is just not language that is acceptable by just about anyone. And this is also how the statements they release, the names they call President Biden, Vice President Harris, who they choose to highlight. And obviously there are concerns from their own allies, from Nikki Haley, about how they talk to women, how they talk about women, about the tone. But part of this, last thing I will say briefly is that Susie Wiles, the top woman on the campaign, has privately told confidants that the biggest challenge is that managing, quote unquote, too much testosterone. But this is also, in certain ways, a deliberate play for men. And I remember going to the convention, the RNC, and watching and saying, you know, what are they going to do to bring women back into the tent? How are they going to woo women? And I watched and I realized they're not. That's not their main concern. They are doubling and tripling down on their reliable voters, which are younger male voters, and you see it in this culture.
Mara Gay, your thoughts? I mean, this is a strategy. It could be effective.
Well, I guess my thoughts are, I hope that women seeing this, who are, you know, over half the population, and vote more consistently than men. Right. I hope that they see this and that they coalesce around the obvious choice. White women, I'm talking to you as well. And I just think we really also might want to take a moment to, as Barack Obama did yesterday, speaking specifically to black men, but I think this is actually for all men. You know, I think men are in crisis, actually, in this country. I think that plays out different ways. And not all men are in crisis, of course. And not all men are just at home listening to Joe Rogan, being angry or being recruited to fascism. Some just need therapy, like we all do. I go to therapy, that's great. But I think we need to have a real conversation about that rather than allowing this kind of drift toward this faux masculinity that we see Donald Trump evincing.
And what I see is him tapping into what's quick and easy. Right. It's sort of like bigotry, racism, misogyny, or just like these muscles that certain people have in their brains. This is very Trumpy. And I don't know if there's time to do what you're talking about, though it is badly needed. Molly, go ahead.
One of the smart things this campaign is doing is trying to meet voters where they are. So, like the Call Her Daddy podcast, that's 5-10 million women, right, ultimately. And they are very mixed, right? They're Dems, they're Rs, they're Is. And I think that is really helpful. And so more of that, which is why I think they should put Tim Walz on Joe Rogan.
I do too.
Because go to Joe Rogan, 100%. Show them what Tim Walz means for this ticket, show them that this ticket understands that there are men in this country who don't totally jive with some of the stuff that, you know.
Look, I mean, the gender gap has been growing for years, right? This is not new to this election cycle. Like, we've seen this for the last decade, that Democrats have skewed more, Democrats and independents have skewed more female, and Republicans have skewed more male. Trump accelerated that, right? And, you know, put that trend on steroids. And then the questions that we were asking over the last few years was he going to try to expand the tent, try to expand his base and his outreach to women? I mean, the answer was clearly no. J.D. Vance was a very clear statement. You know, they've been very comfortable with the ways in which they've alienated, for instance, suburban women who were so the key to their very consistent losses, by the way, since 2016, right? Because as Mara said, women are more likely to turn out to vote. That's why Joe Biden won Pennsylvania, even though there was a Republican advantage. Women turned out in greater numbers. They flipped Pennsylvania for Joe. That's absolutely what has to happen this time.
You're watching Morning Joe Weekend. We'll be right back.
Meet the new Target Circle, the easiest way to get more Target. That means automatic deals when you join for free. That's the new Target Circle.
More cookies! Yeah!
Not 'em. Cashmere's so soft, it could give anyone a soft side.
Oh, that was a big one.
Still dry?
Yeah, still dry. I'm Andy from Vessi, the makers of waterproof footwear. We can assure you Vessi shoes are actually waterproof. Our patented waterproof tech covers your whole foot. You can take your dog out for hours when it's wet. But people love us for commuting in any weather and staying super comfortable. The reason we're so obsessed with water, it makes us happier, healthier, and reduces stress. So why wouldn't we be?
The Cuisinart Air Fryer Toaster Oven can air fry, toast, bake, grill, and broil. So you can break up with your oven. It's a work of Cuisinart.
When I first noticed my hair loss, I panicked. That's when I found Hers.
Through Hers, you can find a range of prescription hair loss treatments.
It is very clear that it's worked for me.
Regrow hair in as few as 3 to 6 months. Get started today at forhers.com.
Tonight's story of deception and revenge takes place deep within the catacombs. A peaceful setting to rest. For eternity. I'm Alan Cumming, host of Peacock's The Traitors. And if you're like me and enjoy tales of strategy, sabotage, and murder, listen to my new sleep story now on Calm.
When the details take precedence, and each piece is crafted with intention, the rest falls perfectly into place. We strip away everything but the essential, finding sophistication in simplicity. And what we're left with are thoughtful bedrooms for modern living. Thuma.
How am I gonna find a doctor when I'm hallucinating? What do you think, Fever Monster?
What about ZocDoc?
ZocDoc?
Dr. Castell has a great bedside manner.
So many options.
But Dr. Shi-chan will take your sketchy insurance. Shi-chan, 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 Shi-chan.
Thanks, bro.
You've got more options than you know. Book now.
Subscribe to MSNBC Premium on Apple Podcasts. Get early access and ad-free listening to Rachel Maddow's chart-topping series, bonus content, and new episodes of Morning Joe and MSNBC original podcasts ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
Talk about the debate. Why do you think Donald Trump won't debate her again?
Well, you saw the first debate, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Got his ass kicked. And so he's afraid that that's going to happen again. Rather, he's spreading this fog of misinformation and disinformation and gaslighting, rather than face her again so we can
and he's spreading it about you, saying that tabloid stories about your personal life, saying it should be front and center. He's saying it about your wife and making incredibly crude and lewd suggestions about her past life. I'm just curious. I know I seem like a very zen, mindful person, but I think I'd be pissed off. And I'm just wondering, How do you all stay centered? How do you stay disciplined and not really go off and not really push back hard at these things?
We don't have time to be pissed off. We don't have time to focus on it. It's all a distraction. It's designed to try to get us off our game.
Does it get you off your game?
No. All we are doing, all we talk about is this election. We understand the stakes. We understand the responsibility.
What are
we
the
understand
stakes?
the account.
What are the stakes?
Our very country, our future. What kind of future are we going to have? Who would you like picking the next 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices? The guy who picked the 3 who overturned Roe v. Wade and want to take away more and more freedom? Or do you want Kamala Harris picking the Supreme Court justices?
Right.
I mean, this is, she said it. It's not just the most important election of our lifetimes. It's the most important election of our nation's lifetime. So right now, you've seen us before, in the before times. A lot of happy couple talk.
Right.
We love each other dearly. We love being around each other. We enjoy it. We have fun together. Right now, we're deferring that kind of happy couple time, because everything we talk about right now is what else can we be doing to win this election?
You're talking about the
Where
state?
else can we go? How can we make sure that we are getting the word out? And that's it, because like I said, the stakes are too high. So all that other stuff you're talking about bounces off. It's just a distraction. We're not going to let it distract us.
Okay, you can see more from Joe's wide-ranging interview with Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff on Monday morning, right here on Morning Joe. Joining us now, longtime pollster and political strategist Frank Luntz. He recently teamed up with the New York Times for a focus group made up of Gen Z voters who were mostly undecided. I have a question about that, but I will hold that one in. Frank, first of all, just what's the big picture from your point of view on the state of the race?
I had thought that Trump's debate performance would disqualify him. Then in the end, looking at the two candidates side by side, which the American people have been waiting weeks and months to see, that just as Biden's performance cost him the nomination, that Trump's performance would cost him the election. And I've had to walk that back a little bit because I think the race is dead even. I don't follow the national numbers at all. It's the 7 states, and in every one of those 7 states, it's within the margin of error. In fact, it's half the margin of error. So there's no way to call it right now, which is why these 4%, and that's it, these 4% races are impossible to predict. Now, they could all go for Harris, they could all go for Trump, but I'm questioning whether these undecided voters are even going to participate. I know you're going to play some sound.
Yeah.
But make no mistake, we are on a pin's edge right now, and the essential key point of this is that who they vote for is the next president of the United States.
So, Frank, let's listen to what some of the focus group participants had to say about why they are still undecided.
Raise your hand if you are undecided still at this point. If the election were held today, who would you vote for? If you had to pick, if the election were held today, between Trump, Harris, a write-in, and not voting?
Yeah, I think I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. I just can't get over what happened in 2020. And